How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffled Rowlets, and welcome to a brand new video. Stabby, I don't know, something like that. I don't really have an intro planned. It's like 8 in the morning almost. I haven't had any, inkling of sleep for the last 36 hours, so a little bit tired, to put it bluntly. A little bit tired, but, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new video. I'll be sleeping, by the way, don't worry. Don't worry for my health or whatever. I just stayed up way too late several days in a row right now, so that's why I'm a little bit all over the place. But back to the actual video, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to bring up something quite interesting here. So this was this article from Famitsu that was posted about a month ago, and I actually remember reading it, but I read a different translation of it, so it could have had some misinformation in it, or just differently translated and stuff like that. But here's a new translation of that by your boys over at PokeJungle, so shout out to them boys over there. PokeJungle, of course, doing the God's work. But basically, it's one about potentially the fact that they're actually remaking the 3D models for the Pokemon from scratch for Pokemon Sword and Shield, which would mean that they're basically remaking them, hence why they aren't including all of them. But I'm going to be frankly honest, I have a little bit of an issue with that across the board anyways. And a lot of people have made a lot of different arguments and whatnot, but I thought we'd read through the article first. I actually made this video already. It was 26 minutes long, but I decided to remake it just because it was too long, okay, and I want to keep it shorter. So let's start from right here. So Game Freak shares why Galar won't have all the Pokemon. This is not new news. In fact, it's already been almost a month old. Many fans have already read this from its article, however, which is why I've decided to do some new translations and hopefully share more of the thought process behind Pokemon Sword and Shield's controversial choice to not include compatibility with all the species of the Pokemon. In an interview with Janisha Masuda and Shigeru Mori, Famitsu talks about the fervor caused by the comments at the E3 Treehouse presentation, during which Masuda revealed the disheartening news. After talking about they wanted to focus on quality animations over quantity of Pokemon, Omori reveals that even during the production of Sun and Moon, it was difficult to animate all the Pokemon, and including them in their entirety. He goes on to say that since the hardware was changing for the next games, they had to remake all the models, which could mean that they reworked all of the 3DS models to properly work on the Switch. So here's the thing, right? They had to remake all the models, which would now here's the thing, right? This doesn't imply directly. This could imply this could be looked at two different ways, right? Because I mean, PokeJungle does know Japanese, I would assume, and that he's translated stuff in the past, so I do trust him. And what he's saying here clearly is that they had to remake all the models, but when I read that doesn't seem like they're saying that because the Reddit article about this said that they remade them from scratch. This doesn't imply that. Now, remaking a model can be looked at a lot of different ways, right? It could mean that they remade them from exactly scratch, or they used the assets that existed but just had to readjust them to actually fit for the Switch. That could also be a thing. So that could also, technically speaking, be remaking, because having to port them over and actually change them around to fit with the new games could, technically speaking, be considered remaking it. You know what I mean? But I think the more likely factor is that they're saying that they remade the models from scratch, which gets me a little bit confused. And this is where I get just a little bit frustrated, because if you remade all the models, Game Freak, which, by the way, I don't think even Game Freak remade these. I think this actually falls into the category of what Creatures Inc. makes. And if you guys don't know this, Creatures Inc. is a company that works with Game Freak. They're the people who made the X and Y Pokemon models, as well as the ORAS ones, and basically just the Pokemon models you saw throughout all the 3DS era. They made all of those. They also do a lot of other Pokemon, games just Pokepark here, the TCG and stuff. They did Pokemon Go models, all the stuff you see in Pokemon Go, all the models and stuff, they made all that. You know what I mean? They also did this arcade Pokemon game as well. They also worked on they also made the 3D models for Pokken Tournament, and the stuff for ORAS and whatnot. So they worked on stuff. Okay, they worked on a lot of stuff. Let's see if we can actually translate this here to see. So the official 3D CG base model creation and 3D CG data management are performed. These 3D CG models are used in Pokemon-related content such as Pokemon Sun and Moon, and Pokemon Fist and Pokemon Go, and Pokemon Go. So yeah, they make all the 3D models, right? And I'm assuming they also are making the 3D models for Sword and Shield, because they always make the 3D stuff for Game Freak. So to begin with, it isn't even Game Freak is making these, because I saw some people making the argument, and I'm just pointing this out. Again, listen, for 1 second, for the people who made this far into the video to begin with, listen. I am still excited about Sword and Shield. I do not hate Sword and Shield, and I do not hate Game Freak. Listen, please understand, because a lot of people get this wrong, right? Misunderstand what I'm trying to say. I just criticize them because I want them to do better, and I want to call them out for things that I think that they're just, skedaddling around. Also, you guys couldn't even see the text over here too properly, but it does say Sun and Moon over here at the end. You guys can't even see it though. Sorry, it's my thingy here is a little bit in a shitty position, to be frankly honest. But either way, the point I'm trying to get to is I don't hate Sword and Shield. I'm still excited about it because I think Sword and Shield does a lot of good things, but I don't accept the excuses I've seen from them. The excuses people are making up for them for not including all the Pokemon. Now, inherently, I don't even have an issue with that, but it's the fact I have an issue with it is that the reasoning for it just doesn't seem realistic. Like high quality animations, the only things that have high quality animations that I've seen so far are like a few new moves that are old that have gotten a little bit of an upgrade. Majority of stuff is exactly the same, identical to what we've seen before. The animations are identical. Even Hop's animation, that he does, is exactly like the animation from How from Sun and Moon. It's the exact same animation. It's the exact same shit. Of course, the 3D model of Hop looks way better, but it's the exact same animation though. So in terms of animations, the only ones that are actually better, I would say, is the ones for the brand new Pokemon. Those are actually good. But then you have stuff like this though. Look here. Charizard is shooting flames, but it's not even shooting flames from its mouth. It's shooting it from above its head. Why is the flame coming from above its head? Am I missing something? Because that makes no sense. Why would the flame be coming from its head? And now you might be like, oh, but that doesn't matter much. It's, it's whatever. I feel like it does because it just kind of ruins the immersion, right? Because I saw some of the other animations for for Dreadnought, like Gigantamax Dreadnought, for example. Now, this is, of course, Dynamax, but Gigantamax Dreadnought has a move that looks really, really cool. The Alcremie Gigantamax looks really cool with that animation as well that it has. The big new, white, big, chunky Pokemon, that one has a really cool, new special move and stuff. But if that's your high quality animations, why are they're only for the new Pokemon? Seemingly not much for the old ones, mostly for the new ones, and a lot of the other stuff is just reused assets. And I think that's where I have an issue with when they say that they couldn't include the Pokedex because of high quality animations, when in reality they're reusing a lot, and the only high quality animations are only for the new Pokemon, which maybe that's enough for them. Maybe that's enough to, consider that being a valid reason. Maybe for you guys, a lot of you guys, of course, that are excited for Sword and Shield and don't give a shit about any of this, maybe to you, it's like, yeah, that's a valid enough reason. I'll take it. I'll whatever. I just want to play Pokemon, which is honestly an admirable thing to do. Hey, if that's how you want to look at it, that's fine. I just want to call out Game Freak on any bullshit I see them pulling. And I feel like, to me, this just seems like just a little bit of BS. I'm just going to be honest. That's what it feels like to me. That's just how I feel from this, because even if you remade the 3D models, why wouldn't you improve them? Now, I'm not asking for, Pokken level of graphics, okay? Even if you can pull off, a medium level of something in between where Pokken is and where current Pokemon is, right in the middle. That would be perfect, right? A middle ground where it isn't too overly realistic like Detective Pikachu, or, too hyper Pokken, but just right in the middle where it's you can see the actual improvements that have been made. Whereas right now, the models look exactly the same. The only thing that's different about the Pokemon in Sword and Shield versus Sun and Moon is the fact that it's just, a HD console that's been played on, and there's a shader in Sun and Moon. Just a shader that can automatically be applied across all the Pokemon. Doesn't even need to be any, individual addition to each Pokemon to do that. You can just, automatically apply that. It's, pretty commonplace within game development. It's just, cost effective, which is understandable. But the point I'm trying to get to is that, there's nothing been changed there. It's the exact same shit. Now, the only, if they remade all the models, from scratch, then of course, yeah, sure, but why didn't you improve them? Why didn't you, add more to them? Instead, they look identical, because I would have assumed you'd want to improve them. And then on top of that, the animations for all the moves, like Tail Whip and some other stuff, are identically the same. They look exactly the same as they did before. So again, that opens, but some people make the argument that, oh, but those animations are the same because they're not as important moves. They would rather put their efforts into bigger, more spectacular moves. They'll be more actively used. But I feel like, shouldn't your focus be on making everything look top notch? But I don't know, man. I don't know. My point is this, though. It's all a bit of a strange situation. So let's continue. So they were forced to make a choice of which Pokemon would be available in Sword and Shield. He goes on to state that he believes that once players experience the features in Sword and Shield, such as the wild areas and the story, they will understand the scope of the project and recognize why Game Freak had to limit how many Pokemon they included. And I hope that is true. I really, really, really hope so, because Omori, I'm excluding Masuda from this conversation, right? Omori has been very confident about this. He mentioned, for example, there's going to be a good post-game, he said. There's going to be a lot of stuff in the post-game, a lot of different things. He said different things, not one thing, two things, different things, right? A lot of different things. And that makes me excited. The fact that he puts a lot of confidence in the wild area and the story makes me excited, because I think the wild area looks great. Story, not really, never really know about story until you fully play it, and Pokemon stories have been kind of lackluster in the last few years. I mean, Sun and Moon was decent in what it did, like good. It actually was pretty good. But I feel like, if you look at X and Y was weak in my opinion. And then, the other games are just remakes. You can't really tell much from those. The story department is just, because we only had 2 generations the last 2 years. Sun and Moon, I guess, had good story. I just didn't give a shit about it, to be honest. I just didn't care for the story in that game. It just didn't intrigue me particularly whatsoever. Whereas, I preferred, the story more, in, Black and White and, Diamond and Pearl, I think, had some of the best ones. Even, Sun and, even Ruby, if I think back to it, had a pretty lackluster story, honestly. Whereas, I think Black and White and Diamond and Pearl had a way better one, in my opinion. But I love Ruby, it's one of my favorite games. Either way, the point I'm trying to get to is that I do hope that this is true. I am honestly holding out the hope that this is true. Now, Masuda assured his fans that they were going to make great efforts to ensure that that even if Pokemon didn't appear in Sword and Shield, they would appear in the upcoming title. And no matter what, Pokemon Home will be available for them while they wait. When asked whether or not Pokemon will appear in Sword and Shield will be available in future titles, since their models had already been completed, Masuda answered that the team will still look into the possibilities. Now, this annoys me, okay? This actually frustrates me. Now, I know I said I wouldn't be getting me mad, but no, you can't say this, Masuda. This is, okay, now, of course, this is an interview, so you can't really give an exact answer here. I get it. But at the same time, if this is what happens, and if this doesn't happen, and we don't get all the Pokemon in, Diamond and Pearl remakes next year or the year after that, then I'm going to actually start a riot. Because, seriously, you now have, let's say, if Sword and Shield has 400 Pokemon, right? You have 400 models done for Diamond and Pearl. And we already know the Diamond and Pearl remakes are going to be made in the same engine. We know that because that's exactly what they do every single generation. They always use the same engine for the next game, which means that the assets are just ported over. It's the exact same shit. There's no arguing at that point, right? So I do hope that with Diamond and Pearl, we get the full Pokedex. The full Pokedex is there. Galar Pokemon included, everything included, everything there. There is no excuses at that point, because all you're doing with Diamond and Pearl remakes is just recreating something that's already been planned out. So there's no reason to plan out story stuff, because you're going to be redoing the same story. Sure, some things will be a little bit different, but overall it's the same stuff, same world, same everything. You're remaking a game, that already has, you're remaking a game, right? So there shouldn't be as many issues as with when making a brand new game, which requires brand new Pokemon and brand new stuff like that, and brand new, things to be created, new gym leaders and stuff. Whereas this is a remake. So if I don't see every Pokemon the remakes, I'm going to be quite annoyed. I'm going to be quite frustrated. But that's for the future, right? For Sword and Shield so far, if the story's good, if the post game's good, if the gameplay and if the game is good, I don't give a shit about the models issues, boopsy bopty boopty. As long as the game ends up being good and fun and actually a good Pokemon game, I'm Gucci. But for now, some of the excuses I don't buy for why the Pokedex, all the Pokemon include. I just don't buy them, and it just doesn't show off in the trailers. The models I see look identical to previous stuff, and I don't know if you remade them, why you would remake them exactly the same, identically the same, instead of actually, do a little bit of an update on them. That's just what I feel. But yeah. Next up here, though. So, the team was still going to... whether we asked an opinion Sword and Shield, he went on to say that that battle mechanics such as Mega Evolution and Dynamaxing that affected many Pokemon would be difficult to implement, even if graphical work had already been done. Masuda continued that he hopes Home will be truly viewed as such, with Pokemon taking trips to certain titles, but returning to the app for storage. If Pokemon isn't compatible with that game, for example, had a cold atmosphere that didn't suit them, it might be like them saying, this place is too cold, I'm going to sit this one out, which is cute and whatever, but let's, I get it. But I'm gonna be honest though, I don't like Pokemon Home for 2 factors. One, if I have to pay, one, if it's a paid thing, because if we already paid for Pokemon Bank, Nintendo Switch Online, and the games we're playing, I don't want to pay on top of that for Pokemon Home. I don't want to. And number 2, what I don't like about Pokemon Home is the fact that you can't send Pokemon back to your previous games after you send them over to Pokemon Home. So if you send something from Black and White, you can't bring it back to Black and White from Pokemon Home. It can only go forward, which is a little bit strange. I don't know why you wouldn't make it available to send back. I really don't get that. It's just so weird. So that's the only reason I don't really like home and the concept behind it. But yeah. This is a place going to go. Also, he said that they would add a feature to home that allows you to do things with your Pokemon. Now, I bet you it's going to be just like one of those Poke-Ami type things. You can pet them and shit. Like, I don't care about any of that. You know, if there was actually like a gameplay element to it, like some sort of battle arena or like something like that, like a battle simulator in Pokemon Home, I'd prefer that way more. But it's even if they're simply being stored in the app, he also teased about the possibility of adding home compatibility with spin-off titles by saying that team has already been thinking about it and would likely consider it in the future, which that would be cool. You know, maybe if we get like another potential, like we never will get another XD Gale of Darkness, but it would be cool if we got something like that, like XD Gale of Darkness 2, and then we can send over like, you know, Shadow Lugia and stuff, but that's never really gonna happen, let's be frank. But it is what it is. So ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna be the end of the video. Hope you guys did enjoy it. I don't want to go any further because I think that's about it. I think all I want to say is that there are a lot of animations that are really just poorly executed and just like, this is bad. Okay, I don't care what you say, this is bad. This is just inherently bad. But then on the other hand, there's also other positions where like I look at it and I'm just like, it actually, they look really good, but that's more like the newer stuff. A lot of this stuff, what you see right here, this is like reused, like this is a reused, like, you know, flamethrower-esque animation, just being reused, but it's even in a poorly positioned. You know what I mean? It's just like how Blastoise shoots a hydro pump and whatnot through its, like, out of its head instead of out of its, like, you know, actual cannons. Whereas I've seen other Pokemon games and like even like bootlegs and stuff actually have them shoot out of the cannons, which is just like, why isn't this, you know, changed? Why is this exactly the same as before? I feel like at this point this should have been, you know, kind of changed. Hopefully this gets fixed here. I really do hope so, because it's just kind of weird. Just like, it's just kind of weird. I don't know. It's kind of out of place in a weird way. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, anyway, that's the end of the video. If you did enjoy, drop a like down below. Boy, this is the worst video. Man, this is not going to be a good video, is it? Either way, have a great day. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.